Hey guys, sorry about that vid this morning and maybe the one yesterday too. The last couple really, the sound was off and well, I feel like I owe you another vid, so here it is. This is the latest ISWA space weather run. Got the 300 frames up and 120 on this so that the times and dates somewhat correspond. These two are synced. You can see we still got a lot of electron energy seeping in. This is electrons at the lowest. Low energy electron count, meaning like these are the electrons that move the slowest, and this is the electrons at the highest energy, highest electron count, which means these guys zip around pretty quick. So we got this one at 10 keV, and this is at 4,000 ME, 4,000 keV, which translates to 4 MeV. Up here we get the Z cut. That's looking straight down on the planet from like if you're suspended above the Earth. There's the sun side. Sun's over here. This is the solar wind speed, the arrows indicating. So we should always have arrows going from right to left. And as you can see, we have arrows going every which way, and a lot of times pointed back toward the planet, which is coming from a second solar wind, which I say would be Nemesis, our binary twin, because our sun emits mostly protons. Nemesis emits mostly electrons. It's like an equal opposite thing. So these are the electron counts around the Earth. Pretty rough. Unfortunately, these things never work, but you can just see from the color coding that we've got a lot of energy coming in around the Earth. And there's a splash there. Got a little bit of missing time if you watch this. It's between the 14 and the 15-minute mark. But other than that, it looks like a pretty clean run. These are the blue IMF field lines. We should only have about 9 since we have one sun and 9 planets. And these are all magnetic field connections from our sun to the planets. And as you can see, there's way more than 9. And look at all these ones bunching up here in front of the planet. So I would contend that that's from Nemesis, our second sun. And it's 7 planets. So if you take the 2 suns plus the 9 plus 7 planets, that's 16 interplanetary magnetic field lines times 2 suns. So I would say that that's a pretty good representation of 32, at least 32 interplanetary magnetic field lines. You can see all the backside pressure coming in from Nemesis behind the Earth. The solar wind's been up recently, so I think our magnetosphere has been having to marshal more energy in front of the planet to ward off the solar wind pressure coming from our sun, and that's why I think there's less of these red closed field lines. The black ones are normally just streamers. They stream all the way away from the planet. And this directs all the energy coming from our sun away from the Earth. When you see them become closed like that, that's when we have auroras. So this is basically the Y cut. It's a slice, like an MRI slice through the magnetosphere, and then it's turned on its side. So this is looking from an equatorial view. So we're looking from east to west view across the Earth, as opposed to a north-south view, up and down. So anyway, these red field lines, normally they just come and close around and back around to the Earth and hit the 2 poles. That's why we have the auroras. Now you can see that the Earth's magnetosphere is having to buck up in the back and try to fight off all this extra solar wind pressure coming from Nemesis. And that's why these field lines, these black field lines, become closed. So that's what the red field lines, closed field lines are. They're black, the polar collapse streamers. that normally just stream away from the planet when there's not a whole lot of solar wind pressure, and they become closed when there is. That's when we get the auroras at the poles, hence polar cap field lines. But now you can see a lot of these polar cap streamers are having to close way out here to ward off the extra backside pressure. Now, here's what I'm talking about. The solar wind's up. This is on the Discover. It's the newest satellite that they put out at the L1 Lagrange point, which is 930,000 miles in front of the planet between the Earth and the Sun, and it basically stays in a fixed orbital position. So keep in mind it's 930,000 miles from the Earth. Now this is giving you the solar wind speeds. You get the time reflected up here. This is all UTC, and the date 10/13. So you can see it starts at 2200. So as we go along, you see the solar wind pressure's coming a little greater. Look at this gap. So we have a gap around 232 UTC to around 252. So that's a 20-minute gap. And we have another gap here from 321 UTC to 331. That's a 10-minute gap. Then we have another gap here from 0404 UTC up to 0436. So that's a 32-minute gap. Then another little, then some more data stream, 440 to 454, and then we have another larger gap from 454 UTC to 537 UTC. I've just been noticing the last couple days we're getting these small gaps. So let's picture this. Here's what I'm talking about. Here's where that Discover satellite's parked at the L1 Lagrange point, 930,000 miles from the Earth. So it's just reading all data coming from the sun. We're getting these gaps, but they're small. It would be my contention that maybe some of these planetary bodies from Nemesis are coming around, or parts of the debris field, and it's blocking the data. That would be my conjecture there. Because normally on ACE, and this is the other satellite that's parked out there, it's an older one, same place, L1 Lagrange point. Then it always has like an 8-hour gap, thereabouts, around the 2400 UTC. But you can see this one started at 2200 and went all the way up to 0600. So that's an 8-hour gap in data. So I used to think, well, what the heck, why is this gap? And I think maybe it has something to do with batteries or battery life or whatnot. I'm not sure. But anyway, I'll leave you that link for this. Of course, all the links are in my description box below. And here's the link that explains some of the stuff you're seeing on the space weather charts. Pay particular attention to this. What does the phi blue mean? Because that's telling you, it's giving you the explanation for where the interplanetary magnetic field connections are coming from, and it should never be above 180, because 180 it signifies an Earth to Sun connection, and 0 signifies a Sun to Earth connection at 180, and a 0 is an Earth to Sun connection. So there shouldn't be anything above 180. So you can see all this stuff's above 180 pretty much, except we get some blips here and there where the Earth's trying to connect back to our sun. But mostly we're connected to something behind the Earth. So anything above 180 indicates a behind the Earth connection. I tried to show you some stuff this morning. This is a really good vid about dead astronomers, and it's got a nice tune. Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. That's well worth a look. Then this other one, Astronomer Teams Die in Coincidences. So like I said, I've been at this since in pairs, which is unusual. They work in pairs and they die in pairs. So you can run through that one if you want. I mean, so I showed you this morning on that vid, we got some real notables that died, like Shoemaker. He was a big guy. I mean, they even got a, comet named after him. And he was supposedly killed in Australia at his South Pole Observatory, run over by a semi-truck, which one of them big double semis in Australia supposedly ran him over and killed him, and then his observatory burned to the ground right after. Yeah, here it is. He was going to put a paper out about the perturbation of Saturn and Uranus's orbits, and it was relative to Planet X. You can see he had a head-on collision with a truck in the outback, and then his lab burned to the ground. Then his partner Harrington, who was the head of SETI, he mysteriously died, and was shortly after well, not too long after, about a year I think after he had that interview with Sechin about Sumerian texts and how it was relative to Planet X. But anyway, that's a good one to watch. Here we have Dill Martin channel. I put the link to his video. This is a great catch here. He's quit posting vids, unfortunately. But I mean, look at that. Tell me that doesn't look like that Bloom Sky thing I showed you. Here's that Bloom Sky shot. Tell me it doesn't look like that. And this camera quit going live after this. I'm surprised they left this last time lapse up. There it is. I'll put the links below. There's the Dill Martin. Here's the Nigel's view on things. I mean, all his videos aren't great, but I like the title on this one. Governments, they don't want chaos and panic when people see these planets. That's a good one to watch for sure. And to round things out, if you want to get some good views, Universal News Media, she quit posting because she was getting a lot of pressure, and she had some kind of a electronics attack against her in Ohio, so she quit posting. But these are some awesome videos, and I'll put a link to her channel, all caught from the FAA Alaska webcams, and she does some great explanation of what you're seeing. This is the one on deep earthquakes. I always wondered why it wasn't spelled diverse. It's divers. Divers go deep. I think Jesus was referring to these deep earthquakes, which I pointed out have been happening quite frequently since Nemesis came in the neighborhood, and they never happened before that. There's one just the other day, the 6.7. There's another one. They always have a lot of them popping off down here by Fiji. But anyway, I'm running out of time here. This is the one I tried to show you this morning about how what Jesus was talking about correlates with the sixth seal, and I put the link below. I will put the link below. And this sixth seal in Revelation, I mean, it pretty much describes the whole scenario, what's going to happen, even up into the elites hiding in deep underground military bases. So that's about it for now, guys. I'm running out of time. God bless and peace, and I'm out. Thanks for listening.